All right, folks, I'm showing it's 6 o'clock straight up. Looks like we've got a quorum here. If I can get the council members in their seats, we'll get this party started.
I'm here.
At this time, I'd like to call this April 17th, 2012 City Council member meeting to order. To get us started, we've got our invocation will be led this afternoon by Aaron Hefty, Associate Pastor with First Baptist Church. If you would, please rise for the invocation. We'll follow that up with the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge.
Please pray with me. Father, thank you for tonight, God. I pray for this conversations that we will have tonight, God. Please be with our mayor, God, as he leads us. Father, thank you for these city councilmen, God, as you have called them into their positions, Lord. I pray that you would just honor them and their families with their service, Father. Thank you for this great city of Granbury. Father, thank you for our city officers, the police department, and also the fire department, God. And just, I pray that they would protect us, Father, and I pray that you would protect us from above, Lord. We love you. We thank you. We pray now in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. And the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas flag, please. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please be seated. I would like to give you a reminder out in the community that on April 21st we have a Granbury Goes Green recycling event where you can recycle any electronic product. Just take it out to Hewlett Park. They'll have a recycling trucks there. You'll be able to drop off any kind of recycling product that you have that's cluttering up your household. Electronic-wise, it's free of charge. It's offered by Tech Waste Services, and it'll happen on April 21st. That's this coming Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hope to see you there. With that being said, I'll move us on to our consent agenda. Approval of the council minutes of the meeting of April 3rd, 2012. Can I get a motion from the council to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Allen. Need a second? Second by Mr. Hewlett. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 1 of our deliberation agenda. Discuss and consider the allocation of funds to purchase additional equipment for fly rails, lighting, and sound, over and above the previously approved contract to redevelop the Opera House. A little background is the Opera House Redevelopment Committee had identified additional needs for fly rails, lighting, and sound equipment that are over and above the $1.2 million amount of the contract, which was set out to redevelop the Opera House. The equipment will include some 20 line sets of fly rail system at approximately $7,000 per line, as well as additional lighting and sound equipment, bringing the total to $250,000 approximately. At our last meeting workshop, we were teased with a little 3D walkthrough of the Opera House project. We're going to take a minute tonight. We've got an opportunity to view a 6-minute 3D presentation that's going to help us understand where those $1.2 million will be spent and why the additional dollars for lights, curtains, drapery, and sound will need to be allocated to the project. So if we can start the demonstration, there's no audio to go along with it.
Did you want to make a comment, Brian, or not, as it went? Or not? Okay.
you can see by that, there is quite a bit of an expansion project that's taking place with the Opera House. That's where we're going to see the $1.2 million that's currently allocated to the project is in the exterior structure. But what we're talking about here before us, City Council members, is that there is a need for theatrical equipment that consists of drapery as well as lighting and sound equipment and what's called the fly rail system. It's going to require some additional $250,000 in funds. There is an account that has been allocated as the Opera House account. It has received monies from the previous production company. It currently has some $200,000 in that account, and it's the recommendation of staff that we utilize that $200,000 to assist with the acquisition of lighting, sound, and stage equipment for the Opera House once its renovation is complete. You'll notice that there is also a recommendation of some additional dollars coming from Granbury Historic Properties, but I want to remind the council that the council cannot direct what the Granbury Historic Property Fund does. But we do have before us the allocation of $200,000 out of those Opera House generated funds that could be put towards this project. Entertain a motion to approve a budget adjustment to allow for that to take place.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Tyra, a second by Mr. Perkle. Any discussion regarding this?
I have a couple of questions, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Mr. Parson.
I guess first of all, we think we can build it for $1.2 million. What are we going to do with if there's any overages? How will we finish the physical plant? The second question is, from what I've seen, there are no back of house facilities for the people there, the people that are in the shows. What are we going to do about that? And I would hate to see the city encumber $200,000 prior to the $50,000 coming from the Granbury Historic Properties. So I would like to see the motion amended to say that subject to the Granbury Historic Properties making its $50,000 contribution.
I would amend that motion, Mayor.
All right, so we have a request to amend the motion. I need to have a second by Mr. Perkle on the amendment. He's not in favor of that, so the amendment.
Mayor.
Well, I'm sorry, but the original motion is out there by Mr. Tyra and Mr. Perkle.
May I ask Mr. Perkle a question then to...
Sure, we can discuss
help move
this.
this process further, because I understand what Mickey's saying, and I think it makes some sense. I agree with most of it. The fact is that the historical, Granbury Historical Properties is made up of 2 council members and 2 people that, and the mayor, and actually, so it's 3 elected officials and 2 staff. So the fact is that I don't see any problem whatsoever, Mr. Perkle, with Granbury Historical Properties moving forward with the $50,000, being they have over $200,000 in the bank at this time of city taxpayers' money. So you can bet that I'm going to support the Granbury Historical Properties to move forward and getting this $50,000 approved to help this project move quicker. So with your support, Mr. Perkle, I guarantee we can get it done. I don't see any problem.
I'm a past member of that. I will change.
You will second the amendment? All right. So, folks, just to remind you, we have a motion to approve a budget adjustment to allocate $200,000 out of the Granbury Opera House account to make purchase of lighting, sound, and drapery, as well as fly rail equipment for the Granbury Opera House venue, contingent upon approval of additional funds allocated by Granbury Historic Properties. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moves us down to item number 2. Item number 2, consider and approve a professional engineering services agreement with Inprotect Hibbs and Todd Incorporated to provide engineering services for the design of the drainage system improvements for the Opera House project in the Bluff Street, Crockett Street, and Houston Street areas for a total not to exceed an amount of $18,000. Council members, just to enlighten you on what this is about, this is going to be paid out of some 2012 tax revenue certificate of obligation bond fund monies that we already have out there. In any kind of a construction project, you need to address drainage issues. There's going to be water running off the buildings as well as in the parking lot areas, and we need some sort of an engineering study to take place. We've capped it at $18,000. Entertain a motion to approve a professional engineer service agreement with InProtect Hibbs and Todd. Anybody? Council members, wake up. I need a motion.
Let me ask you a question.
All right. Let's go into, I want an approval on a motion. Make your motion however you want to make it, council members. Well, and then we'll go into discussion on it.
Maybe there's some questions that would give the council more confidence in making a motion, Mayor, if we could just talk about number 2 a little bit before we make a motion, if you would allow us that time.
All right. Let me call up a city staff person, Alva Cox, if I can get you to sort of tell us why we need this to take place.
Yes, sir. What we have over there right now is they used to just have like a little flume that ran down the back of the properties, and we get a lot of runoff that comes through, goes past tanks, runs actually right where Brian's going to have the new building right there, and actually comes all the way out to Crockett, and there's nothing there. What we're planning to do, plus we also had a lot of drainage issues down on Bluff, where the water sheds off and it goes straight down, runs onto Bluff, and kind of gets into the properties down there. What this proposal would do is actually put underground storm drain actually from the corner up there by the Opera House, the new Opera House, and it's going to come down to Bluff. We'll have an inlet box down there which will catch the water that's coming off Houston as well as Bluff that way to alleviate some of the homes over here from it coming over the curb. And then we'll also take it back over to Crockett, have another inlet box there, and then take it out to the lake. And that's basically, and it'll be roughly probably about 18 to 24 inch storm drain is what that's going to be.
But let me just make sure you understand, council members. This is just for the engineering portion of that. The monies are there in the bonds that we've already got set aside for the parking lot improvements and for the drainage, actual
this is
sewer
not
drainage.
The construction side of it here. This is just the actual plans and everything to get ready for the construction side.
Mayor, can I ask a question, Mayor?
Sure. Fire it off.
And I'm glad you said it, because I want to make sure the audience understands that this money's been sitting in our bond money since 2007.
Actually,
Okay,
2000.
Yeah, 2006. I see these bonds from
Yes,
years
sir.
past.
It has.
So this is not money. We've been paying a payment on this. So here we are. It's time to get it done.
Yes, sir.
And this is not money we're spending out of the general budget. So
No, sir.
my question was, you all have looked at this for years. You've been ready to get it done. Now that the Opera House is going forward, this is the time frame to get it done. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've been looking at this. Actually, if you want to go back in time, about 2002, 2003, we started actually looking at the water, the sewer, and everything way back when. So yes, sir.
Thank you.
And was any of this because of the difference of the parking lot when you level them off? I talked to Brian after.
Can I get you to scoot in on your microphone,
Can you hear me
please?
now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is this part of the deal? And I talked to Brian, he talked to me about it, where the parking lot, where it kind of steps down now, but when we do the new one, it's going to be level. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We'll be doing some grade work and everything on the new parking lot. Once we get ready to do that, we'll start doing some grading and stuff. We'll still have a lot of the runoff still going to be there where it's going to be, but yes, as far as to answer your question, we are going to do some leveling back there and try to level that off as best we can.
Does this $18,000 include our parking lot, not any labor or anything, but for as design on where to shoot it and all that stuff?
No, sir. This is just the storm drain itself is what this is for. This is not for the any of the parking lot whatsoever.
Ballpark figure what they're going to cost us, or can we do it in-house?
As far as the construction side?
No, as far as knowing where to shoot the grades, elevation.
It requires an engineering study.
It wouldn't, yes. We'd have to use an engineer on that.
What kind of money are we looking at on that?
I probably could.
That's not what we have before us, though. Just so you understand, we need to stay on topic with what we've got before us.
I understand, but I was just thinking maybe will it be the same company that does it?
It would
More
come
than
back to
likely, yes,
council.
sir. We would probably
Can
go
we
that
do it
route.
together, what I'm saying, save us any money.
Mayor, I have a question. Sorry, I think Mr. Allen.
That's a
brings
good point, Mr. Allen.
Because we're talking about drainage, and elevation of the parking lot is going to
Yes.
play right into drainage. So do we have
It
the
is.
engineer here that could speak to us on that?
We have one of the engineers from Improtech, not the one that designed it, but
He's the one that can make the decision.
Keith Kendall.
Keith,
Record,
this
Keith
is,
Kendall, ever-
thank you much. I think he brings up a valid point. I mean, if we do this project with the possibility that you would wind up coming forward to do the parking lot engineering study as well, are we saving any monies by putting this off a little bit and having them both combined to one study? Does that save us as a client any dollars?
It really won't. They won't save a lot. The parking lot is not going to be a big deal. There's very little civil engineering to do with a parking lot. What our study involves is coordinating where we're going to tie into the parking lot and then taking all of that drainage, including what we're picking up along the streets, out within it. Getting the drainage from the parking lot tie-in is not a great deal to do. We're going to coordinate that with the architect, and you'll already have that done, quite frankly, because what we're going to do is coordinate where the tie-in is going to be, where we're taking the drainage from the Opera House into the drainage system, in addition to designing the inlets we're going to put along the streets to pick up the additional drainage. So I don't see by putting this off that you're going to save anything, because part of what we're charging our scope of services is to coordinate where the Opera House drainage is going to tie in to this drainage system. So you'll already actually have that engineered. The only thing you have left after that is just the grading plan for the parking lot and the piping that's going to tie into the drainage system.
Are you going to have any catch basins in the parking lot?
Haven't looked at that. I doubt that. I think what we're going to probably have is just drain it off to what I would call an inlet, and then pipe it to one of our Type A inlets that we have, one of the bigger box ones, and it'll continue on with the
But that's going to be in the ground, though, right?
Yes,
in the parking
all be
lot.
on the ground.
So you're going to have to know the grade on that, right?
Pardon?
Yeah, we'll have to shoot grade. We'll have to do all that work.
Yeah, we'll have to shoot grade and everything, but no detention or retention or anything like that at all. That's the whole purpose of putting all this underground. Try to get it all.
Yeah, then what I'm getting at, though, if we're going to know that dimension or that level, grade level, then we're going to know our level of our parking lot. So what are we going to need you for if you do that?
That won't really have a bearing on your parking lot. This is going to be like, we're going to be completely underground.
It would be if you stuck it up 8 inches out of the ground.
Well, we'll shoot.
That's why we have an engineer study.
That's why, basically what they're going to do is they're going to shoot grade, Councilman Allen, and basically you're going to have your inlet up top, and then they're going to have to shoot grade, and they'll put it to grade all the way out to Bluff Street where they run it down there. So it'll have no bearing. I mean, it's probably going to be a good 3-4 foot deep, regardless, all the way down through there. Again, you're looking at 18 to 24 inch storm drain that you're going to have underground. So you have to have at least a good 3 foot cover on top of that. So there's going to be the cover there. So they've already, and I think Brian's already done a lot of the topos, so we have a pretty good idea. I mean, we know where everything's at. So what we have to do is just make sure we put the pipe to grade, put our inlets to grade, and like I said, and make it very, less intrusive.
So if we do that, Alva, if we do it in the grade, like you're saying, then what do y'all have to come back and do later for us?
That's what he was saying. He's saying it's very minimal what he would have to come back when we do the parking
And while
lot.
we're working on landscaping and everything else, we felt like we could go ahead and get started on the drainage because we really don't need them for the design of the parking lot. We're working on that ourselves.
I mean, and my recommendation for us is, on the parking lot is, let them get done constructing, as far as with the actual Opera House, and then we'll come in and obviously do all of our, asphalt work and everything else on the parking lot. Because that way you don't have big trucks coming in.
Sure.
And tearing it up and everything. But
I just didn't want to come back with a $5,000 or $10,000 another design.
No, you don't have anything like, basically you're going to have that out of this study, because we're doing the tie-in point, and the tie-in point, as we coordinate that, obviously we got to do it to grade and make sure everything's underground, so you're already going to have all of that.
No problem.
So does that answer your question, sir? All right. Any other questions for staff while I got staff up at the microphone?
Well, the
Or the engineer?
in the financial consideration, it talks about the 2012 tax revenue COs. these were not 2012 tax revenue COs. These were from 07.
Well, they wrote 7.
We rolled it over into 2012.
Rolled it over.
Yes, we did.
Most of them.
We refinanced.
And the reason we didn't spend those funds was because the courthouse was torn up. Isn't that correct?
Well, we were waiting for the decision.
Before my time,
We
Councilman.
were waiting for the decision of the office. Correct.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you.
Go ahead and do it, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. All right, so once again, I need a motion to approve a professional engineer service agreement with EH&T.
Mayor Tony made a motion and Mickey seconded.
Ah,
We're ahead.
great. So we've got a motion by Mr. Allen, a second by Mr. Parson. Any other discussion on the motion to approve this engineering services agreement for an amount not to exceed $18,000? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Bringing up item number 3, consider and accept a single bid received on March 23rd, 2012 for the BU 377H intersection plans for paving, striping, and drainage improvements. Council members, I'll remind you that in February of this year, on the 21st, we had a meeting at which we rejected a single bid offer for this same intersection. This is a light intersection down at the conference center. The bid was submitted back out there to some 400 recipients of the bid proposal. We received back, once again, one bid, but this time it wound up being within budget amount. The bid is from PC Contractors LLC for a total base bid price of $180,404.44. The bid amount does not exceed our budgeted construction amount. It's recommended by Friesen Nichols as well as our staff to accept the bid as received. This will move us forward with that traffic signal light at our conference center. Entertain any kind of a motion you have to say. We have a motion by Mr. Perkle to approve.
Second.
A second by Mr. Parson. So we have a motion by Mr. Perkle, a second by Mr. Parson to accept a bid proposal by PC Contractors LLC and authorize the mayor to sign it for $180,404.44. Any other discussion regarding this?
Mayor, I don't want to be the negative one, but 400 people bid this, and we only got
No, 400 people were
we're
offered the right to bid. Only one got back with us with an actual bid.
I mean, this may be a super deal, but my own business, if I was going to build a new building, I'd want more than one bid on it. I know you tried, Alva.
Yes.
And I've talked about it, but I personally don't feel like it's fair to the taxpayers, even though it's in our budget. We had it for. It's hard to me to believe that 400 people had an opportunity. Is it because it's too small of a project, or what is it?
I think a lot of it is it's a specialty type item. And for example, when we did HEB, we only had 2 bids on that light. And then I believe it was the same way on one of the other ones we did on 144. For whatever reason, you just don't get many. And we sent out over 400 plus emails and everything else. It was unbelievable. There was actually 6 sets of plans that were picked up. And then obviously the one bidder, that was it. And it was the same one from the time before. So it was kind of, it's a little bit different, obviously. I mean, but it is a specialty. You're dealing with TxDOT, you're dealing with those lights, and there's just certain contractors that want to deal with it. We also, and one part that I took out was, as far as on the microsurfacing, there's very few individuals out there that do microsurfacing, which, you know, we started checking on that, and there was only like one in this whole area, and which we took that out because, you know, they didn't bid on this. So, but anyways, it's a very specialty type thing, and you're right. Most of the time, you want more than one. You know, at least it is within budget, and it's $30,000 less than what it was on the last time we went out for bids.
Same company bid it again.
It is the exact same
Reckon we
company.
send out again and get another 30.
Well, here's the issue we've got, Council. One of the issues we have at us is we are on a time crunch deadline with TxDOT as far as getting this vetted and let by TxDOT. So we are up against the time constraint here. We need to move forward in a timely manner, so putting it off for another bid request would probably not be advised.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
When they get the new loop put in, or the little bypass there, right down the street from there?
Yes, sir.
Are they going to have a red light right there?
I believe they are.
Are we liable for that red light too, or is that going to be the state?
No, that's TxDOT.
Okay.
So they'll be going out for bids on that one.
I'm just curious if that red light will take care of the conference center.
Well, the biggest issue I think at the conference center is the left turn
Yeah.
and getting out of the place. So I think it's still required. We'll be able to control it. It'll be able to be manually controlled during conventions or any kind of conference, so it can be overridden by the local police department in case we need to do that. It does also allow for a pedestrian crossing too, which is badly needed for the city beach area.
Correct.
So, any other questions from council for staff? We have a motion by Mr. Perkel. We have a second by Mr. Parson to move forward with the acceptance of the bid from PC Contractors LLC not to exceed $180,000, $404.44, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ava. Brings us down to item number 4. Consider a request from the Granbury Housing Authority for pardon for payment in lieu of taxes. This is known as a pilot. The Granbury Housing Authority, acting with HUD, has an agreement with various local governments that allows them to pay a set fee to all of the entities in lieu of paying taxes. The total fee paid to all entities has traditionally been 10% of their gross earnings, less the utility costs that they spend. This amount is then split pro rata between the various government bodies. In our case, it would be Hood County, City of Granbury, and the Granbury ISD. We received a letter dated March 27th from the Granbury Housing Authority asking us to waive the collection of the taxes and in lieu of the pilot plan, and that's what we've got before us. They want to keep the money, instead of spending money that is allocated through the pilot plan on giving it to the taxing authority. They're hoping that we will allow them to waive the collection of that fee, and they can keep that money in their budget to help with maintenance and overhead costs with the Granbury Housing Authority. Is that clear for everybody?
It's not costing the city any money.
We haven't collected the monies in some 14 years.
Mayor, I have a question concerning this. Will this be the right time to address it?
I'll let you start questioning, because you can talk to our city manager regarding this particular issue.
Thank you. When I read over the agenda item, Mayor,
Can I pull your mic up for me, please?
when I read over
There you
this
go.
item, I saw that, and I just want to make sure I get confirmation of this. Did I read the letter correctly? They're a tax-exempt entity? That's what it says, okay. So the Granbury Housing Authority is tax-exempt. And so how are we collecting? I understand you calling it a fee. So it looks like there were some negotiations done back in 98, August of 24 of 98, where it was approved then. So a couple of questions is, okay, they're exempt, but then there's this fee that we're charging, and we split it between 3 entities. I mean, it's kind of confusing.
We're not charging them. HUD recommends that because they want to support the communities, if possible, that these entities would pay a fee to the city, county, and schools if, in fact, they wanted to, or they can go to these entities and ask for, waiver of that, and that allows them to put the money back into the housing. And in the past, the city has said, fine. Go ahead and put it into the low-income housing. We think that's a good idea, and we'll go forward with that.
You know what?
And they're asking for that, and they got audited by HUD, and they had not come and asked for permission.
Talk into your microphone for me, please.
They
There
had
you go.
not asked for permission to waive it, and so they're getting back in that process of asking for permission to waive that fee.
You know, at first glance, it looks like we're forgiving the federal government of something. And I know that HUD, I mean, you understand, I mean, yeah, we're talking about a nonprofit here locally that helps out people that can't afford regular housing, low-income housing, which is a good thing.
Right.
And do you see anything else?
No, the staff's recommending that we waive it.
All right.
I tell you, Mayor, I think we should do it, but there's one paragraph, that last paragraph, that says, "I wish not to have HUD know this, or I could be in trouble."
Well, we weren't
concerned.
part of that.
It doesn't fall on our heads, just so you know.
We are publicly waiving it, okay? And we've even talked about the fact that she has missed that in the past, and so we're not hiding it in any form or fashion. So putting it out.
So you're telling me, and city attorney saying, we do this, there's no repercussion upon us? Okay. I mean, I think it's a good deal. We should do it, but reading that one sentence in that paragraph, I didn't understand it. So
I think her main concern is she's worried about, for herself, having not approached the city about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 14 years that she has failed to receive that letter, that waiver letter from the municipality or the county or Granbury ISD.
No problem. Thank you.
So with that being said, entertain a motion to consider a request from Granbury Housing Authority for pardon for payment in lieu of taxes.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Hewlett, a second by Mr. Perkel. Any further discussion regarding this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion approved. Bring us down to item number 5, consider and approve a budget amendment to approve funds to pay for Councilman Parsons' travel request to accept the invitation from the National Unification Advisory Council to attend a meeting in South Korea. Just so you know, folks, council members, the money has not been spent. There's a ticket being reserved. It's been put onto a city credit card to hold it. It has not been let. The purchase of the ticket has not taken place. Am I correct in making that statement, Mr. City Manager?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so what we have before us is we have an opportunity for Mayor Pro Tem Mickey Parson to accompany the Dallas chapter of the National Unification Advisory Council. This is a group that met here during their statewide conference just recently, and they have extended an invitation to Councilman Parson to be among their delegation to visit what they call the Blue House. It's the house for the President of South Korea. I won't butcher his name, but this cost is going to, the trip is going to cost somewhere in the approximate $2,000 amount. And so what we have before us is a budget amendment, because if you'll remember back at our last budget session, we had whittled down travel expenses for the city council to just a bare bones minimum. We had put it at $20,000, and we are actually tapped at that right now, and that's with just some in-house trips to Austin, Houston for TML conferences and that kind of stuff. But this is one of those items where it's going to be a matter of needing to transfer some monies around in order to cover this item. So we have a motion, or entertaining a motion now to approve a budget adjustment to provide for funds.
Mayor, I would like to hear from, before I vote on any kind of motion, I would like to hear first from Councilman Parsons his justification for the actions that have been taken to date, and then I have several questions for staff and several statements to make in regard to this matter.
Okay, let's start it off with some discussion as to why, from the person that brought this to us, which is Mickey Parson. Councilman Parson, if you would sort of enlighten us as to why you feel this benefits the city of Granbury.
All right. Some 8 or 10 years ago, the city of Granbury received a letter from the Korean Association of Fort Worth and Dallas, inviting the city to become a part of an exchange program and to become a sister city with cities in Korea. After we responded to that letter, I think we may have been one of the few that responded, but we began a student exchange program with Shinan City and Gwanyang in South Korea. In the wintertime, about right after the 1st of January, they would send 10 to 15 students over here, and those students would stay here for about 6 weeks. They would live with families that had kiddos in school here in our school system. And then in the summertime, those students, our students, would go to Korea, and that would be reciprocal. And so they would stay with Korean people over there. So we had that student exchange program going on. I think as long as that was going on, we probably had 60 or 70 kiddos from Granbury go over there, and probably had 75 or 80 of them come over here. That was the beginning of an economic and exchange program with the Koreans at that point in time. Subsequent to the students going over there, the city of Gwanyang and Mokpo invited city officials over. And I've had the privilege of being in Korea twice to visit with them. We went over and have worked on economic and social and cultural exchanges with them, and continue to do that. I continue to have a relationship with this Unification Council and with other South Koreans in terms of talking to them about potential economic development for the city of Granbury. As the mayor alluded to, back in December of this year, we had 60 plus, I think, Korean Americans here in the city of Granbury for their winter meeting. They were here for 3 days at the Hilton Garden Inn. Out of that relationship, they've asked me to attend this their meeting in Seoul, Korea, a 7-day meeting at which there will probably be 400 to 500 Korean Americans there. And meeting with the president of South Korea. And it would be an excellent opportunity, I think, for me to promote the city of Granbury with those visiting people. I've asked the individuals that I'm involved with that are in that during that period of time I have 2 to 3 meetings per day with manufacturers from Korea that might be interested in coming to Granbury and setting up a manufacturing facility at our industrial park. As you might know, Kia, Hyundai have plants in Mississippi and Alabama. Samsung and LG have plants all over. So there's quite a precedent for the Koreans to be here in America. They've recently renegotiated the trade agreement with Korea, and that continues to be a favorable affair for them to be here. As you might know, most automotive manufacturers these days prefer that their suppliers or second and tertiary suppliers be within 400 to 500 miles of them. Hyundai and Kia have plants in Alabama and Mississippi. We have a great railroad system here in Granbury that offers opportunity to bring in heavy manufacturing items and to ship out heavy manufacturing items. The budget item will be a little different. I'll discuss that in just a second. I personally talked to 2 councilmen after I'd talked to the city manager and understood that there would be a required budget resolution. And I talked to 2 city councilmen and asked and said, basically went through this talk that I just gave about what I thought the potential was for the city of Granbury. And as far as I knew, I thought I had approval to proceed with that. And based on that approval, I asked the city to purchase a ticket for me to go to the city of Korea. Now then, having said that, in the past, the trips to Korea, the city has always had, that all we picked up was the airfare. This trip is different. It's not going to be paid. My being over there is not going to be paid for by Jalamando, the state, or whatever. So the total budget request would be something like $4,333, $1,473 for an airfare, 7 nights at a hotel, and per diem for those 7 days. The trip would be $4,333. I'll actually be over there for about 12 days. The other days I will pay for myself. So anyway, I thought I had approval. I knew that, as history has it, we've not made budget adjustments on items like this until September, October. I thought I had council support for moving forward. I did, and I moved forward, so the rest of it lies with council. If we approve it, fine. If we don't, we don't.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. Anybody on my left want to speak? Councilman Hewlett? Burkle? All right. Mitch, you said you wanted to speak on this.
Yes, I have some statements and ask the staff some questions as well. And first of all, I want to say that this is not about the Unification Council. This has nothing to do with them. We appreciate their student exchange program that's been done here in the past, and that is a neat thing to be able to have that student exchange program in place when we can afford that and when that is something that needs to be done. And just because it's been done in the past doesn't mean that we can always do these things in the future. In the newspaper, I read that, Mr. Parsons, you said that most citizens consider you a good ambassador of the city, and I want to say that I consider you a very good ambassador of the city. I've served with you for 3 years, and I have been with you to conferences, and you do a great job of diplomacy for the city. I am against this budget amendment, and I'm going to vote against it, and I'm going to outline my opposition to it right now after I ask some questions. The fact is that my first question is to Wayne McCathin, our city manager / finance director. I'd heard a ticket price of $1,400 and some dollars, and that ticket had been reserved. And if, in fact, we did not move forward with the purchase of that ticket, that there would be a $252 or $250 charge to the city for that ticket. Is that true?
Yes, there will be a cancellation fee, just like any other ticket.
Well, then my next question to you is, tell me, as a financial director and a city manager of our city, when did you first know about this $4,333 expenditure that we've heard here tonight?
Well, that's the first I've heard of that total. Whenever Mickey and I talked, we talked about one ticket, $1,473, and I allowed another amount. He had not told me about the $4,000.
Well, and again, I understand from our past experiences. I want to make sure, because I read in the paper that there was a statement that suggests that the council has went to Korea before, and I think Mr. Parsons just stated that. For the record, Mr. Parsons, who at this table has been to Korea that you know of besides yourself?
I don't know. Well, I have no knowledge of anyone. I was not on any trip with anyone on this council.
And I appreciate that.
You may have been on your own. I don't know.
I appreciate that. No, I've never been to Korea on the city.
A hypothetical question. I can't.
And I guess my point is that nobody on this council has went to Korea except for you, and you served a purpose there. This program started 8 or 10 years ago, and we understand that, and we appreciate that. So I don't want this to get in some kind of knockdown, drag out. This is a budget item, and I want to make sure that we have a process going forward. So, because when you state publicly that you talked to 2 council people and that you received some kind of nod or something and you felt comfortable to go to the city manager, then I need to turn to the city manager and ask you, Wayne, as chief financial officer of this city, what did you tell a single councilman when he came to you and asked you about an expenditure where in the paper you said, quote, we're over budget in travel?
Well, I recommended, I think Mickey will back this up, I recommended that you not do it. I felt it would be a political issue. But I do not approve or disapprove council members' initiatives for economic development. I support my council. I don't manage my council.
And Wayne, and I tell you, I appreciate that very much. And the fact is, I believe that the council, in any council in the city of Granbury, should travel. There should be training. There should be economic development opportunities that we go to. I'm questioning whether this Korea trip falls into that category and the way that it was processed to get us here tonight. So,
well, yeah, and let me just
go ahead,
real quick, is that the fact that when he did mention it to me, I did, as he said, notify him that I felt it should be a budget adjustment, because whenever we make budget, we were not budgeted necessarily for out-of-state travel. We were looking at in-state travel. At least I was. In fact, the prior year was primarily in-state travel. And so that's why I came with a recommendation that maybe going forward, every travel outside the state of Texas probably needs to do a budget adjustment.
Okay, so I appreciate that again. And of course, you feel free as a chief financial officer, city manager, to jump in as I ask the questions. So, because again,
Councilman, I just want to enlighten you that we're not doing an inquisition here. We don't even have a motion on the floor just yet. So if we can get a motion on the floor, then let's go into some debate and we can talk about this. But it sounds to me like you're stressing your side of the coin. I appreciate it, but let's get it to where we're in the form of a motion and we go into some debate. Either make me a motion that you want to deny the budget adjustment.
I move that we not approve this budget amendment.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Tyra not to approve the budget adjustment. We have a second by Mr. Hewlett. Now then, we can go further into your discussion. Okay, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. All right, let me pick up where I left off here. When I first heard about this, it was at a meeting of our last meeting. It was just mentioned. I just kind of heard it being talked about, staff or whatever. And then I see that you made a statement, quote, I understand that he recently bought the ticket. So, and you even made a statement about a $2,000 amount. The budget amendment will be for about $2,000. So again, I'm concerned about the process, and so I'd like to ask you how we got here tonight, and if there's any way, because I noticed, and I want to read. This is not about beating you up, okay?
No,
because you made a great statement there, and I want to make sure everybody understands that you did exactly what you were supposed to do. Mr. Parson did not violate any policy.
I call for the question.
There was not any situation. This is an ethical situation where we can keep this from happening again. And
hold your tongue for just a second, Mr. Tyra. I need a second on the call for the question, and then we can debate on whether or not to call the question. I need a second, please. It's dying for a lack of a second. Continue your discussion, Mr. Tyra.
And Mayor, and Mr. Parsons, I'll wrap this up pretty quick. The fact is,
take time.
The fact is that you, I want to make sure everybody understands, Mr. Parsons didn't violate any policy, okay? And the reason that was so freely comfortable to do that is because in years past, these prior administrations had the ability to do that. Is that correct? We heard about 2 trips to Korea. We've had some trips recently to Washington, D.C. And so as I try to close this out, I'd like to ask you about, this is one question to you, Mr. Parsons. I noticed you made a statement about a company named POSCO, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you stated there were several companies. Do you have some companies in mind that you had really thought might be a real opportunity that they might want to build here in Granbury? As far as I'm talking about, I understand it's prospects, and I appreciate that, but as far as real opportunity to get somebody here.
Yes. POSCO, Kia, Hyundai, LG, Samsung are major companies, and then there are hundreds or thousands of other smaller companies that might be interested.
And do you believe that that's economic development opportunity? Because I do believe those things are economic development opportunities that should be vetted in an open meeting, and in fact that the economic development folks that we have here, like Joy Grisham, should be involved in those kind of things. So I don't want anybody to walk away here saying that it's about economic development. Wayne, I have a few more questions for you, and then I'll close out. There was talk about Washington, D.C. Has anybody on the council been to Washington, D.C. this year?
Yes.
Okay, who is that? Can you tell us who that is? Okay. Has anybody else went to Washington, D.C.? Okay. And on that Korea trip, Wayne, weren't you the chief financial officer when that Korea trip took place? And did the city pay for those Korea trips?
They paid the airfare.
Okay. What about
Can I
food?
get you to direct your comment
what
to the
about-
microphone?
No, they did not.
No food and no hotel reservations or anything like that?
No, I don't remember
So
anything.
Just the plane tickets during that time frame. Okay, and we obviously take trips for other things. So I want to make sure you understand this is not about anything like that. And I know that tonight you can't propose a change, but are you proposing that on the next council meeting or some meeting very soon in the future, you'll be able to propose some kind of structure in place so it will have to be approved if it's out-of-state travel? Is that what?
Yeah, I think that's given the discussion that's going on in the community and in the council, in terms of what we just heard tonight, I think that would be a wise move.
And so just for the record, how did that ticket get reserved? What do you understand took place for that ticket to get reserved?
Well, as usual, we have very good controls over our credit card usage. No one on this dais has a credit card except myself and Stuart. Here's a council member that had to come in and actually talk to a staff member and get help in using a credit card. What you normally have when you have an issue with credit card use is you issue them a credit card and they go down to Walmart and buy personal items. And I don't know if you tried to go buy a personal item at Walmart just with a number saying I'd like to use that number to do it. It doesn't work. So we have a very good, I think, control here that really makes a council member come in and ask permission from the staff to have help. So I don't have any problem with the process that went forward. I mean, it controlled, it raised the issue, it came before the public. We did exactly what we should have done. So.
Was there any truth into what Council Person said about, because I do agree that I've seen these budget amendments come through after the fact, and that has been processed before. I've been here since 2009. I've seen that take place. Yeah. This could have, in fact, took place like that if it wouldn't have been handled in the light of a meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, he is correct. I did escalate this with just making sure that, we need to work as a team and make sure we make these decisions as a team. And that's what I felt was the best for this situation.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing else.
Thank you. Okay, so I understand the need for diplomacy and the Sister City program. I attended that Unification Council meeting. I felt the love in the room. They have a great admiration for the American people that helped free them from communism, and it showed, it exuded out of them, and they were very gracious for our hospitality of that. But I'd like to say that in summing this up, this in no way, the decision made by this council in no way affects the Unification Council or their ability to be here as a host city and hold their committee meetings here. This in no way, any decision we make here in no manner reflects that we want to end any kind of a Korean student exchange program. And I just want to stress that more than anything, that the decision here is strictly regarding budget and whether or not it's a budget adjustment amendment. We have a motion on the floor not to approve a budget adjustment amendment to pay for Councilman Parsons' travel with the National Unification Advisory Council to attend a meeting in South Korea.
Mayor, I need to say one thing.
All right, Mr. Allen.
Thank you. I was one of the councilmen that Mr. Parsons come and talked to, and I told him if anybody went, it should be him because he's been more involved in them than anybody on the council of this state. And I did ask him if it's any way that the or if it could be any way that the EDC could pay for it. And I know they were broke with fighting the EPA, or maybe Jerry Duran could, help pay for the ticket because that's going to be his land they're going to be buying. If I misled you, I apologize, but I got a lot of phone calls and a lot of email on this one. And, if I say this, Mr. Parsons, if you've already talked, you said 1,000 companies about coming here, and you talked to all these car manufacturers and TVs. Please don't give up on them. Keep calling them. And because we do need manufacturing here. And I wish there's something, and you know, Joey, like Councilman Howard was saying, I would almost bet you that working through them and working through Jerry Durant, that they might float this together. I'm not answering for them because it's their money, but it was just, I had one guy call me and he said they've been there twice already, and I didn't know that. I knew y'all went one time, but we haven't seen any manufacturers come in here, or any businesses, and it does take time to get them here, and I understand that. But that's what the taxpayers were saying to me, was that why keep spending money if we don't get results out of it?
Well, I would disagree with that to the extent that you had a conference of 60 South Korean Americans here for 3 days in December, plus you've had all the students come through here with living here and that kind of thing. The question, I mean, the sort of thinking like it through there like that is, how long did it take HEB to get here? And is HEB here because they just happened to drive by? Or is it because 6 or 7 years ago when we were at an international conference of shopping centers in Las Vegas, which was another fire point, oh, you guys shouldn't be out there. Well, are they here because we stopped by and visited with them that 6 or 7 years ago and said, listen, it's not a little city of 5,000 people that you see on the map. It's a metropolitan area of 60,000 people with car counts in the 35 to 40,000 per year. So is that why they're here? I don't know. Is there a direct line? Who knows? I can tell you there are certain people that are here because of the direct line of the ICSC, but some of them I don't know. You know?
Sure. So it's like on any business, it takes time to develop. Like I was going to say thanks tonight, and I do it now, to Tim Spraggin with the city of Granbury. He brought 257 people here last week. Last week. And that's 2 years in a row. And I don't know what the city spent on getting them here, but or how long they worked on it. But it does take time for it to happen. I agree with you.
All right, so once again, council members, we have a motion not to approve a budget adjustment to provide funds for Councilman Parsons' travel to South Korea. Any other discussion? All in favor of not approving this budget adjustment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moves us down to item number 6. In item number 6, consider an approved closure of the streets as follows for the Granbury annual 4th of July celebration from 5 p.m. on Friday, June 29th, 2012 through 8 p.m. on Sunday, July 1st, 2012. Close sections of Bridge and Crockett Streets in the 1-block area surrounding the Hood County Courthouse Historic Square from 9 a.m. through 12 noon on Saturday, June 30th, 2012 for the 4th of July parade. Close Bridge, Crockett, Houston, and Pearl Streets from 11 a.m. through 11 p.m. on Wednesday, July 4th. Close sections of Bridge and Crockett Streets in the 1-block area surrounding the Hood County Courthouse Historic Square from 9 p.m. through to 10:15 p.m. on Wednesday, July 4th for the grand finale Patriotic Laser Light Show. Closed section of Pearl Street in the 1-block area surrounding the Hood County Courthouse Historic Square. I want to remind council that in no way can the city mandate that a state highway be closed at any time, but upon our approval, we will request an approval from TxDOT, that's the Texas Department of Transportation, upon our approval of said street closures in an effort to get them to close off the dedicated state highways, which are Pearl and Houston Street. Entertain a motion to approve the closures.
So move.
We have a motion by Mr. Allen. Need a second, please.
That was by Tyler.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion by Mr. Tyra. I stand corrected.
Second.
A second by Mr. Hewlett. Any further discussion regarding the street closures? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 7, considering appointments to fill a vacancy on the Historic Preservation Commission and 1 vacancy on the Municipal Utilities Advisory Board. The Historic Preservation Commission members serve a 2-year term. Historic Commission member Diane Williams recently resigned on February 26th of 2012. Her term was scheduled to expire on December 31st of 2012. So we will be filling the vacancy left by Diane Williams. The term will end on December 31st, 2012. MUAB members, that's the Municipal Utility Advisory Board, they serve 3-year terms. Member Robert Thompson resigned in February of 2012. His term was scheduled to expire December 31st of 2014. We have asked that the staff go through and make sure that everybody that applied is qualified. And I do want to point your attention to, we are in receipt of a request from Pam Pageant not to be considered at this time for the Historic Commission. With all that being said, we've got applications. You saw them in your packet for several members. I'd like to first address the Historic Preservation Commission and recommend that we nominate Joe Snyder to the position.
Mayor, I nominate Tony Hedges.
Tony Hedges is up for a nomination by Mr. Allen. Anybody else want to make a nomination for the Historic Preservation Commission? All right, so we've got Tony Hedges, Joe Snyder. Council members, I'm going to pass out a sheet of paper. Please circle your choice of those two. Okay.
Can I suggest we just do it with the raise of the hands? Remember, there was an issue before that it was secret ballot and people wouldn't know how we voted. So would that be okay?
That works for me. Whatever moves it along. I'd love to move it along.
Think we're doing anything.
All right, so let's start off with, first off, all in favor of Tony Hedges, raise your hand. We have 4. I'd say Tony Hedges would be our nominee. So let it stand in the record that Tony Hedges has received the nomination to fill the void from Ms. Williams' term. His term will expire December 31st, 2012. He'll be sitting on the Historic Preservation and he would be filling the void on the Historic Preservation Commission. I need to honor it with a motion by council.
So moved that we put Tony Hedges on the Historical Committee.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Allen to appoint Tony Hedges to the Historic Preservation Commission. Need a second. We have a second by Mr. Hewlett. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to the MUAB board member that needs to fill the void there. Any nominations, any recommendations?
I nominate Louis Lursen, L-U-E-R-S-E-N, for that position.
I would like to nominate Karen Jennings.
We have a nomination for Karen Jennings. We have a nomination for Louis Lursen. Any other nominations? All right, all in favor of Louis Lursen, please raise your hand. We have 2. All in favor of Karen Jennings, please raise your hand. We have 3. Let it stand that we need a motion to appoint Karen Jennings to the MUAB board to fill the vacancy that expires on December 31st, 2014.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Karen Jennings to the MUAB.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Hewlett to appoint Karen Jennings to serve on the MUAB board.
Second.
Got a second from Mr. Allen. Any further discussion? All in favor of appointing Karen Jennings to fill the post expiring on December 31st, 2014 on the MUAB, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Brings us to item number 8. Consider and adopt a resolution amending the City of Granbury Personnel Policies Manual, providing for employee grievance procedures, employee discipline, and social media. This basically is going to allow us to bring our personnel manual into compliance with current laws, and it will serve to better protect both the interests of the city and the employees. Council members, do you want to hear from staff regarding this? You have questions for staff?
May I make a suggestion, Mayor? I've read through it thoroughly, and I'm hoping all the other council people here have read through it as well. I just had a few questions. That's just had a few questions, and then I'll be satisfied.
All right. Let me bring up the HR person, Dr. Christy Sanders, to answer those questions, or maybe the finance manager can, a city manager can answer them for you.
As far as the complaints and grievance section, I thought it was well written. I had a question about step A, if you would mind, in its own proposed change 2, second page, step A. Employee informally discusses grievance and his or her supervisor unless the grievance pertains specifically to the employee, immediate supervisor. Then the employee may skip the supervisor and appeal directly to the department head or to human resources. And so as I read through the document, I saw a little conflict in that they're going either one or the other. So obviously when they go one or the other, would they be going to the human resources because their complaint would be on the department head? Is that what the significance of that is?
It gives a neutral person for them to go and talk to. If I receive a grievance complaint from an employee, I'm immediately going to contact that department head anyway. But if they feel there might be some employment detriment to them by going to the department head, they can come to human resources and then we can address it.
Christy, the only other question I had concerning this section of the agenda item is the days. I noticed that as I read through it, within 5 working days after we receive the grievance, within 5 days following each intermediate administrative level in the organization. Then I see some areas where we said things like, if the employee is not satisfied with the decision in step B, or if the supervisor fails to respond within 5 working days, the employee may take the grievance to step C within 3 days. And I'd like to just recommend that we give the employee those same 5 days that we give the supervisor, so it looks completely even-handed, that we're treating that employee exactly like we're treating that supervisor who's going to have to rebuttal or give them the time.
That is a perfect.
That was the only thing I thought. That was an easy one.
No problem.
And as far as that's concerned, that's the only questions or concerns I had about it. Thank you, Christy.
Anybody else on council have questions for staff regarding this?
I think...
Mr. Allen.
Thank you. I think Mitch brought up a point there, Christy, that if they know, if an employee knows they can go over their supervisor's head, is that really good business?
Well, sir, I don't supervise any of the department directors. That's Mr. McKeffen's job. I'm on the same level with the director, so they wouldn't be a situation where they were going over their head. They would be going to their advocate.
Because I thought on what Councilman Howard was saying there was that if they couldn't move the supervisor, then they may skip the supervisor and appeal directly to the department head. They got to go to the supervisor first, right?
No, they don't have to if the grievance specifically is targeted towards that supervisor. If the supervisor has done something, it would make the employee feel uncomfortable talking to that supervisor about it. They can skip them, go to the department director. If they feel uncomfortable talking to them for whatever reason, they can come to a neutral party.
It's only if it's on their supervisor.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't understand that. That's good. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff from council?
I have a question with our social media person concerning social media.
So can I ask Shanna to come up?
Thank you, Shanna. As I read through this, and there's a lot of talk now, as you understand, about social media because of its effect on the workplace. And there's been some cases on it. It's even made the media. My question, as I read through this, I thought it was great, and just help me understand the concept, because when we have a city-owned and operating controlled Facebook page, I understand the language is you control it, you can take off if something's inappropriate, all that, that's great. I have no problem with that. We, at that point, I mean, it looks like we have some great guidelines. You all have put together some great guidelines to keep that staff, because they know if they go onto a city Facebook page, it's controlled by the city, their city employees. We have some control in that kind of inappropriateness, if there is inappropriateness. And you, at your discretion, can take it off. City manager can take it off. I read through all that. And then that's a whole, I appreciate that. My concern is, and there were some things in here, and I just want you to clarify it for me, and maybe I missed it because I've read so much lately, that if an individual at our city goes to their own personal Facebook page and they write anything they want to on there, my concern is I want them to have the freedom to say anything they want to, just like they can at their house, because that's their site. It don't belong to the city. It has nothing to do with the city. This is not about freedom of speech. We need to allow that to happen on their own website. I'm concerned, and the only issue I have here that I'd like for you to address is I don't see any prohibition. Maybe it's there. I don't see any prohibition that would keep them from posting on the social media during work time. And that's where I'm concerned. What they do after work, if they get on there and say they don't like the city and they espouse and blog anything they want, that's their business. I want to see them do that. They need to have that right. But what about, don't we have a right when they're working for us, getting paid by the city? We can say, hey, it's prohibited from posting during that time frame, because we don't want them posting while they're working, because it takes away from our work hours. So help me with that. Maybe I missed it.
So that was in another. Yeah, that was in another part of the manual.
Actually, Shanna wasn't involved in the creation of this.
Oh, okay, great.
That is actually addressed.
Can you use the microphone for me, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Excuse me. That's actually already in our personnel handbook under internet usage and policy. It's already there. It's already addressed. So we didn't feel like we had to expand upon it.
So we're good.
We are good.
Because if you're on your phone, you're using internet, and so that'll fall in that category. So people they're prohibited from doing that while they're working for the city.
The problem is managing that.
Of course.
Because if somebody has their smartphone and they're on their break and they're posting during city hours, they're on break.
Well,
they're at lunch. So
and that brought up a good question.
Really say whether or not they're on using city computers unless we have a problem with it, it's noted, and then we have to pull those Facebook records, and that would be a Tony Toll thing, and he could pull that information.
So there's no doubt in your mind that, and we're all in agreement that when somebody's on their lunch break or their break, they can do whatever they need to do. That's not what this is about. This is about those, it's all time stamped. So if you see somebody spending a lot of time on it and they're not at break, obviously you got a situation that city staff has to deal with.
For example, I posted this evening about 4 o'clock. I knew I wasn't going to get to go to dinner, and so I took a little bit of a break and I posted something on Facebook. So, you know, for that type of situation, that's not a problem. In a situation where we have an hourly staff that may be posting things all day long, and that's noticeable because we're a small town and things get around, that would be more of a problem.
So do we have a situation then that would address that exempt employee versus that hourly employee? Because do we have an aggregate amount of time? I just want to make sure that we're fair across the board.
We do not manage exempt employees that way. We don't tell them when to come and go. We don't tell them when to go to lunch. We don't tell them, you know, we just don't do that, because if we do, then they're not really exempt employees.
And again, on a personal Facebook page, if an exempt employee was using it to a point, what in policy would govern that? Inappropriateness,
well,
too much time?
If it got to be a situation where there was too much time, if you use myself for instance, Shanna's my friend on Facebook, several of y'all are my friend on Facebook. If you saw me on there posting all day long every day, you would have absolute authority to say, hey, what's going on?
It's really a self-policing thing then. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. But you feel like the hourly, it's taken care of because of the breaks and things like that. All right. Hey, I appreciate that, because I want to make sure everybody understands we want people to be able to post on our Facebook. That's their right, just free speech. Absolutely. But when they're working, I think y'all have some control over it. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you, ladies. Very good. I'm satisfied, Mayor. Thank you for those.
All right. So let's see if we can wrap this up into the form of a motion then. Yeah, I understand. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the City of Granbury Personnel Policies Manual as submitted, along with an amendment to that submission that reflects that in the grievance procedure section to take out the word 3 working days and replace it with 5 working days, and adopt a resolution to approve it.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Tyra. Need a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Mr. Hewlett. Any further discussion regarding the City of Granbury Personnel Policies Manual. All in favor of adopting it as submitted, along with the amendment to change the language in section grievance procedure to be 3 days, change it to 5 working days, and approve and adopt a resolution. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. There being no further business before this council, this meeting is adjourned.